Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a great day and above all else that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the gang back together. We have Ken Cheshire. How's it going, Ken?
Going well, boss. Glad to be here and talking music.
Glad that you're here. I still can't get used to you calling me boss, but that's okay. And the one and only Mr. Jim Bricker. How's it going, Jim?
I am doing better than I ought to.
That's good. That's good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to discuss album anniversaries, specifically albums that are celebrating their 60th anniversary. And looking at the list, we have three to talk to you about today. And what I'm seeing, it goes from one end of the spectrum to another. I, I couldn't believe it when I saw this, guys, but it is what it is. First up, in terms of albums celebrating their anniversaries in August. We have Frank Sinatra, All Blue Eyes, with September of My Years, uh, released August of 1965 through Reprise Records, his own label. Before he, I do believe it was before he sold it to Warner Brothers. Album was produced by Sonny Burke. Is listed as traditional jazz and vocal jazz, with a playing time of 44 minutes and 2 seconds exactly. Now, I will state outright that this is not really within my wheelhouse, but we'll deal with it. All right. And
Well, you managed to do pretty well when we did Sinatra at the Sands.
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, that was good. That was, I don't know. I was in top form that day, but anyways, I'll
Maybe Count Basie had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it was just the whole vibe of the room of the album.
Sure.
You did feel with that album that you were right there, like with
Hmm.
like
Very
with
personal.
him in the room as he was singing.
Hmm.
But again, I will reserve my judgment to the very end. So I will start with Ken. Your opinion?
Yeah. Sinatra, September of My Years. This is um, him in the studio at 50 years old. Um, at this point, his voice as a physical apparatus was much more mature. Also, later years kind of gives one uh, a different perspective, and there's a lot of perspective on this album. Um, there's a lot of looking back. There is songs of reminiscence, of loss, of definitely of love, of course. Um, so this really does fit right hand in glove for this point. Um, we've got excellent orchestral arrangements by Gordon Jenkins, who he had worked with before and will work with, I think, one or two times after this. Like I said, the themes are of aging, self reflection, nostalgia. It is definitely a concept album as far as the idea. There is not a linear storytelling, but they all have that theme. And it's not the first time he's done that, and it won't be the last either.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because the ones where he does these concepts really work well. And that's where you'll see some of his highest sales numbers within his catalog. Oh boy, I tell you, yeah, this is really hit home because there's many songs here that's on the Sinatra at the Sands album, which was my first Sinatra album, and it's still one of my favorites. You've got September of My Years. It was a very good year. Hello, Young Lovers,
Hmm.
September Song. Um, all those really resonate with me now that I'm 65. So it really does, just kind of hit that sweet spot. My only issue with the album is that uh is in the production, the recording. To me, the strings sound very dated, even though his voice doesn't. It's a weird dichotomy, in this album. Because the old style of orchestra and strings, the strings have a lot of vibrato in it. I can't give you specific comparison details off the top of my head, but it's something that's very typical, the 50s and 60s and before that. Um, there's the orchestra mix is a little bit too bright for me. It's all on so leaning heavily towards the treble, and I don't get so much bass from the mix. Luckily, his mix of his voice is very rich, so that doesn't apply. So it almost sounds like the orchestra was recorded at one point in history and his vocals much later on. It's but still, it's a wonderful album. Um, yeah, this is what you'd have your mixed drink and um, you know reminisce and maybe shed a tear over the girl that you let go in college or
Or you're
or,
happy
or
that she
whatever.
left. One of the two.
Yeah, God save me from a few of those too. Yeah, but
Oh, help me, Lord.
yeah, and it's amazing. All three albums that we're going to talk about today
Yeah.
uh, really resonate with me differently at this point in life than it did earlier. But I love this point in Sinatra. Digitally, I may even have everything he recorded, on all the labels. But I really do like the richness of his voice in the mid 60s. Like I said, he hit 50 right now, and you can hear it in his voice.
Mhm.
Plus, he really knows what he's doing by then. So,
Yeah.
you've got the experience and you've got the, um, you know, because the vocal cords, just like any other part of the body, they mature
Of
over
course.
time.
Of course.
And with men, it's usually later in life, unless, of course, you abuse the vocal cords. But and as much singing as he did back then and drinking and smoking, it's amazing how well his voice just resisted all that abuse throughout his life. So
Mhm.
yeah, September of My Years is one of the really, really good Sinatra albums for me.
Okay. All right. Cool. Jim.
Yes. I'm not going to be a plus one with Ken on this. I'm probably like plus a half. Um, you're right, Ken, that the most successful Sinatra albums are the ones that are thematically arranged. So in the wee small hours of the morning is like the classic. Come Fly With Me is, all about, travel. And, September of My Years, it definitely hits home, with all the themes about aging and, regret and reminiscence and all that kind of stuff. You're right that Frank sounds absolutely great, still velvety smooth. Maybe he went through the same regimen as Nat King Cole and just, smoked so much that it actually helped his vocal quality. I don't know. Um, his phrasing throughout all these songs is very gentle and wistful, but when he needs to pull the power in, boom, it comes like a hammer. Um, this whole type of songcraft that he was doing, and this kind of goes to the string arrangements that you were talking about. this was all really diminishing about this time. And, I would point to the other two albums that we're going to talk about, exhibits A and B, about why this particular genre was diminishing. This was, at the time, it was parents' music. And, until Ronstadt kind of kickstarted the whole Great American Songbook, appreciation revival, even though it was still small.
Yeah.
This stuff was definitely uncool. You know, um, my issue with this album, I mean, Frank sounds great. The arrangements are mostly really good and solid. My trouble is that most of the songs on here are just kind of forgettable. They don't really have, except for like "It Was a Very Good Year" and "September Song." Most of these songs just don't connect with me as songs. There's nothing that kind of sticks in my head and then I want to hum along with, or that will kind of be, running through my head melodically afterwards. They just kind of lie flat, no matter how great Frank's voice is, and no matter how well complementary the arrangements are. If the raw materials aren't there for great songs, then it's just kind of like and I get the selection. I get thematically what they were going for. And as far as achieving that aim, boom. But again, the trouble is that I just, not a lot of these songs stick in my head. They're just not very singable to me. And that's one of the huge marks of a successful song to me, is that it's sticky. Ain't a lot of stickiness here on this record. I,
Mm,
I can I can appreciate it for what it is. I know you can make that face, and
I'm
we
not
can have a.
saying a word.
I'm talking about Ken. Um,
Okay. Oh,
Ken's making
geez.
the face.
Okay.
Um, we um, we can have a good natured debate about it, and we just may do that. But yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, this album isn't a miss. Um, it's just kind of weak.
Okay.
I mean, and the pantheon of Frank, to to me, it's kind of lower tier.
Okay.
Thematically, it's aces, but again, the song choices are like,
Okay.
uh,
All right. Okay. Well, I stated at the top of the show that this album is not within my wheelhouse, and it's not. Like, um, I mean, I get the idea of the September of my years. I get that. You know, you reach a certain age and you start to reflect back on your life and what you've accomplished, what you haven't accomplished, what you have yet to accomplish. Will you accomplish it? Have you done everything you want to do in your life? And if you had the chance to do it over again, would you? I get all of that. I was feeling that way when I was 32, and now I'm 55. So I get all that. I just, for me, you know, it's it's not just it's this music is not within my wheelhouse. I mean, I'm aware of Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein, and you know, of their contribution. You know, with Hello Young Lovers. Um, it's just it's this album isn't there for me. I'm sorry. It's just it's not one I'd go back to. I'd go back to this Live at the Sands before I'd go back to this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
mhm.
Well, that makes
but
sense.
yeah, sorry. Sorry, Frankie boy. It's not one for me, you know. Monguch. All right, never mind, like, all
So,
right.
so Ken, did you want to like thump me in the chest on a few of these of my points, or
No, I mean, if it sounded like I thought this was a perfect 10 album, then I did not communicate well.
you
It's not
didn't?
perfect. It's not perfect. And honestly, a lot of this could be having to do with um, my life experiences.
Hmm.
is why maybe some of the stuff uh, thematically at least resonates more with me.
Yeah.
Sinatra as a singer, I really appreciate because when I was in undergraduate school, I did a fair amount of vocals with the jazz big band, and he was my um, entry point. In some ways, he was my model without me trying to, mimic it. And so
Yeah.
this has um, several points of experiential um, reference, I guess. I'm not quite sure how to put it into words, but yeah, I mean, and for I think for what it is, and I get you, Armando, um, and for what it is, I really like it. I can't say that about artists in other genres. I mean, and even if Sinatra had done a ska album, yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone, too heavy into that. Um, you know, so
Sinatra doing ska.
yeah, picture that.
No.
Try to
I
Okay,
get
go
that
am.
image
I've
ahead.
in your
got
mind.
I've got a message to you, Rudy, in my head is being sung by Sinatra, and frankly, I kind of love it.
Yeah,
Stop your
Okay.
messing around. I mean, I
Okay.
don't know.
All right.
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Say goodnight, Gracie.
that's right.
Good night, Gracie.
There we
And
go.
Jim, you mentioned Ronstadt, and that just kind of opened up to some extent this genre to younger people. But
Yeah.
even before then, I think there was a strong audience for this genre anyway, whether it be jazz or whatever. I understand what you're saying about this was our father's music, but
Yeah.
my dad didn't listen to this, so it kind of I know what you're saying,
My
but
dad listened to
Hmm.
Tom Jones and Elvis Presley, so
there you go.
that's what he used to listen
It's
to. So.
yeah, it's not unusual. But anyway, so
All
no, that's it's fair.
All right,
And
what's
we
up,
talk about
Pussycat?
all the time. Some things land home and some things don't.
Yeah.
hmm
There you go.
All right.
You
Yeah,
betcha.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
We must carry on, ladies and gentlemen. Our
And we
next
will.
album to discuss for celebrating their 60th anniversary. We have the Beatles with Help, released August 6th, 1965. Now, I wish to stress that we are going to be talking about the UK release, released on Parlophone, because for some bizarre, unknown reason, Capitol and Parlophone would release different track listings on the album. So we're talking about the UK release. Now, all these all the albums produced released by the Beatles, sorry, were produced by George Martin. Again, Help is released in conjunction with the film. Um, again, released through Capitol and Parlophone. 14 tracks altogether with a mammoth playing time of 33 minutes and 44 seconds. Ken, your views?
Okay, before I dive into this, I laughed when I looked at our list of what we were covering that we would have Sinatra followed by the Beatles. One of my favorite Sinatra stories, and you know where I'm going with this. Sinatra has gone on record several times saying that the Beatles song "Something" is his favorite Lennon McCartney song. So,
As it was for Elvis Presley, too.
yeah, well, the benefits of being chairman of the board. Beatles help.
Yep.
Um, First of all, the album is a heck of a lot better than the film.
Oh,
The
yeah.
film, the film is fun, for four lads stoned out of their brains for 90 minutes or whatever. But Help is in my definitely in my top five Beatle albums. Um, this is the sweet spot of their career for me. Um, it is almost a perfect album. I love 12 of these songs. Um, and this is one thing I really like. This has got two of Harrison's greatest tracks, and I Need You and You Like Me Too Much. Even though Harrison poo-poos his early compositions, I like them. I thought I've always liked them. And but the downside is right about this time,
Yes.
Lennon and McCartney were doing less and less singing together. In other
Okay.
words, direct harmonies. If you really look back at the early stuff, a lot of that early stuff, they were singing together on the verses and the choruses and the harmonies and whatever, and even just doubling the melody. Um, but this is really where they started to kind of break away and doing their own thing. Um, but still, there's a fair amount of the old team. Um, this is at the point where they weren't they weren't collaborating on the compositions as much as they were before. Um, and I think part of this is because they were on the road so much and they were putting out two
Sure.
albums a year.
Yeah, it
Holy
Plus
was.
cow.
singles, plus
Plus
EPs,
the singles
yeah.
and the EPs. Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
because,
It was in the contract to release two albums per year.
yeah. And
Yeah.
unlike the US and England, at this point, they weren't putting the singles on the albums. Um,
Right.
so so that's, even more output, to fill an album.
Yeah.
But the only tracks I really don't care for is Act Naturally. I always hear Buck Owens in my head for that one because growing up in the
Oh,
60s in the South, it was a
yeah.
law. You had to watch Hee Haw. And Buck Owens was a big,
Woo!
was a big deal in the South, country
Now
western.
wait a
And
minute,
Act
wait a minute.
Naturally was one of his, you know,
Okay.
go ahead, Jim.
All
Yeah.
right.
So Hee Haw was on the air in 65?
Well, no, but in 65, I hadn't heard this album. I didn't discover the Beatles until, the late 60s, early
I see.
70s.
I see. Okay,
So,
gotcha.
yeah. So in the
My
60s, I
apologies.
always heard Buck Owens singing this song. And
Gotcha.
that's what pops into my
Yeah.
pea little brain.
Yeah. I get it.
The other is Dizzy Miss Lizzy, which it feels like a toss away, for
Yeah.
me. But I kind of, I have to admit, for the US version, I, growing up on the American releases, um, I kind of miss that James Bond theme at the beginning of the title song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The Ken Thorne instrument. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of miss that. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
but in general, these songs are really cool. And the one thing about the films that I always liked for this and Hard Day's Night was when they would show them in the studio recording the songs.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed that, especially. So I have all these on Blu-ray and digital and whatever, and yeah, I'll just put on one and just sit back and chill.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I said, this is one of my top Beatle albums. It's right in that sweet spot. Um, and yeah, high recommendation for me.
Okay. All right. Jim.
Yeah. So I was aware of the song Help um before I got the album. And I got the album as well as all the Parlophone albums as part of the Big Blue Beatles collection box. So
Oh,
my first experience on this was vinyl when I purchased it in '86.
it's a hell of a box. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's yes.
Did you have the red and blue compilations
I
before
had the
that?
blue, not the
You had the
red.
blue. Yeah.
I
Okay.
Yeah.
had the red
Yeah.
on vinyl.
Um, so
Together with a
when
match. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
there we go. Um, and Help was, one of my favorite records. In fact, when the Beatles CDs started to come out in '87, um, or 80, yeah, it was probably '87 when the release
Somewhere around there.
started to happen.
Yes.
The day they came out, um, Help, Rubber Soul, and Revolver all came out on the same day, and I bought all three of them. Did not do that with the previous release of the first four. I only bought Hard Day's Night.
Mhm.
But Help, you're right, Ken. Help is definitely in the hot spot of the Beatles. However, of the three albums that I bought that day, this one is the most uneven. Using Busy Miss Lizzie as an example, yeah, definitely that was sort of album filler, it would seem. To me, there's I don't forgive me if I said this already. This is kind of like an album in three different parts. There's the great stuff, there's the good stuff, and then there's the stuff. Um, for
Okay.
me, the highlights, the great stuff is the title track. You've got to hide your love away. It's only love. I've just seen a face and yesterday. Those are
Hmm.
five undeniable stone cold classics to me. Um, in the middle part, um, I have the night before. I need you. You're going to lose that girl. Act naturally and tell me what you see.
Yeah.
That leaves four in the spots. Another girl. You like me too much. Sorry, Ken. For me, Dizzy Miss Lizzie, and this may be the most controversial because I seem to be in the vast minority on this tune. Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride kind of annoys me to no end. And I think it's because it's just so repetitive. It just doesn't really seem, the song doesn't really seem to progress anywhere to me. It has the verses and the rise, the verses and the rise, then it's, you know, repeating the title, and she don't care, and then you go to the next verse. the
Forgot the
the
bridge.
middle. Well, yeah, you don't know. Yes, right. I was just going to mention the bridge. That's a
Okay.
little different, but that doesn't last for very long.
Yeah.
Um, and of course the outro, my baby don't care. I don't know
Not
what it is
bad.
about this. Well, thank you. I'm sure Ken would, pitch correct me, um, if he had the opportunity.
Well, pitch
Um,
this. Go ahead. It don't matter. You're fine.
Pitch, please.
Pitch,
Um,
please.
um,
We're all
yeah,
loopy,
I
ladies
just
and gentlemen. Yeah, yeah.
yes, very much so. Yeah, this song. I mean, I can understand why people, like it. It just doesn't connect with me. It just seems like of all the really fantastic chord progressions and um, melodic innovations that the Beatles came up with in their songwriting. This just seems like, kind of like Disney Miss Lizzie. It's kind of a knockoff
Yeah,
to me, but I
yeah,
recognize that I'm in the minority, and what I'm putting out there are probably fighting words to some people who think that Ticket to Ride is in their top 10.
yeah, yeah.
Um, overall, Help. this whole period, like I was saying, for the Beatles, incredibly strong. Of those three albums, to me, this is the bottom one of that hamburger stack of three. Um, Still well worth listening because the you know 2/3 of the album is either good or great.
Hmm.
So for those uninitiated, do yourself a favor,
Check it out.
check it out.
Over
Uh,
this last week, Jim and I participated in a um, an online forum where we chose our 40 favorite Beatles tracks. And it
And this is out of like everything, including things that were on the anthology series.
100,
I mean,
112 tracks or something.
yeah.
But what really so Jim sends me his list and the biggest question mark came up is I think within the top 10 um he's got I've Just Seen a Face.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
my that's my number three.
All right.
hmm,
I can
okay.
see that. He's gonna give me the skunk eye.
Yeah,
I can
that didn't even make my 40.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
the Beatles. It's an amazing catalog. And just to correct my good friend, because I happen to have the spreadsheet up, the entire list of all the Beatles tracks is 304.
okay. Good.
So to
Whoo!
try to cut that down to 40 was quite an exercise.
I can see that too. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Uh, my
Do you
view
do
of
you,
this.
do you disagree, Ken?
Sorry.
Well, no, I don't disagree at all. Honestly, I called the anthologies out first. I just took those out. Not even going to
Yep.
mess with that.
Right.
So, so then it got down to business. So anyway,
Yep.
All right. Well, I like to see that list actually. My view of help. Help. Um, well, this
Yes.
this is where I'm not sure if this album occurred before or after they met Bob Dylan and he told them they were shit. Uh,
I think
because
after.
okay, if it happened after, I can see how they're slowly morphing into a different direction
Hmm.
in terms of the instrumentation, like in songs like you've got to hide your love away, uh you're gonna lose that girl, I guess, and I've just seen a face. I like all those songs. I do find the film quite dumb. I mean, no, all due respect, the Beatles, Elvis Presley, you put them in the movies, they just look at the camera and smile. It's like there's no substance to it.
Be yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Act natural. You can't. It's impossible to do it. No, it's not possible. My favorite songs on the album again. You've got to hide your love away. You're gonna lose that girl. Yes, I do like Ticket to Ride, although I don't know how the hell the Carpenters managed to turn Ticket to Ride into a 5.5 hour song. They slowed the tempo right down, and it was just like, whoa. I love
it
Carrie
was a
Carpenter's voice, but my God.
it was a
Um,
longer ride. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Hell of a turn off. Okay. Off the highway as it is. Um, Other songs that I do like, I'll say I've just seen a face. I remember, as I said before, the UK versions were different than the American pressings, North American pressings.
Yep.
And I do remember I've just seen a face on Rubber Soul.
Hmm.
I do remember hearing that as a kid, and I've always loved I've just seen a face. And little footnote, people watching, if you want to hear a good uh sultry version of I've Just Seen a Face. Go and look for Holly Cole Trio, Canadian uh, jazz singer songwriter, and she did a version of I've Just Seen a Face in 1993. Very slowed down, but very sultry, very smooth, very silky, seductive, dare I say. It is just amazing. It is amazing. Uh, yeah, this album has its hokey moments as well. Act Naturally, no. And Dizzy Miss Lizzy does feel like it was just tacked on there at the end. Had they removed that and ended it off with Yesterday on side two, it would have been a great album closer. Okay. But yeah, no, I like the album. I like the later albums better, like Rubber Soul and Revolver and Sgt. Pepper, obviously. But you can see that musically they're morphing at this point,
Mhm.
in terms of their uh, musical progression. Some people would say regression, but I say progression because they are moving forward. So, um,
Yeah, I think one of the major themes about them moving forward has to do with writing, especially for John, writing something that's a bit more autobiographical in nature. I
yeah,
think Help and You've Got to Hide Your Love Away are kind of two prime examples of that. Yeah, I don't see Paul getting autobiographical when I look at this list. I just see him sort of beginning to explode as the master, melodic, harmonic, genius that he is. I mean, you just can't argue with, I've just seen a face in yesterday. I mean, come on, what a
no,
one-two
no,
punch.
no,
And
you
let's and
can't.
let's stick him at the end of the album.
Exactly. Well,
Genius or foolish to put it there? I don't know.
I would say it was genius because to me, if you front load the album, you really have got nowhere to go after that. I mean,
Right.
it's just, but then again, with 14 tracks on the UK version, you still got 33 minutes and 44 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, it's very interesting. But yeah, again, I
Mhm.
can see where they're going uh, with this album. They're not there yet, but they're they're moving in that direction, you know.
Yeah.
But
But as you pointed out, there are probably some people who would say that this is where they began to lose the plot. Because there are people who probably hold, with the Beatles as in like the highest esteem.
yeah, I mean, again, you put there was this sort of I guess need to cash in on any artist that was hot at the time. I mean, you've got Elvis doing those corny movies. You put him in front of a camera, give him an acoustic guitar, put him on a beach with some, scantily dressed women, and you've got a movie.
Yes, you do.
And y- you know, Beatles with a Hard Day's Night and Help. It's the same formula, just different characters.
Oh, sure.
You
It's
know,
what sold popcorn.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
The, the other the other thing I'll point out is that this is
yeah,
the Beatles' fifth album. This is the year after they took over America, because that was what, January, February 64. Um,
yeah,
so they were still young in their career. And, as we were talking about the red and the blue, remember, that's like 62 to 66 and then 67 to 70. I mean,
yeah.
they were not around that long. Their
Hmm.
impact is like astounding, but as a
Exactly.
functioning working unit, it's just kind of a blip in pop music, but it's
E-
it was more like a thermonuclear explosion, the quality of their stuff.
Exactly. And let's not forget there's a two album difference between the releases in the US and the UK. In the UK, they're, they've released more albums in the US than they did in the UK. So, I don't understand why, but you know what?
I know why. Three words: money grubbing capitalism.
There you go. There you go from Jim's own lips. All right.
Well, legally there was a difference in uh, how many tracks as far as royalties for the UK and the US.
Okay.
Ah.
So they could get away with making shorter or releasing shorter albums in the US than they could in the UK.
Yeah, I
So
think
therefore they had leftover tracks in order to put on and make complete new albums out of it.
yeah, I think
Right.
I think the playing time for Help on the US version, the North American version, is 29 minutes and change.
Yeah, I
Whereas
believe it.
you have an extra 4 minutes or 3 minutes and change on the UK release. So
And
yeah,
again, what they
Yeah,
would do is they would not only just take out album tracks from the Parlophone version, but they would put in, they would insert singles
the singles.
that were
Mhm.
released in the UK that hadn't yet, dropped on a US album.
yeah,
So there was all kinds of chicanery going on
Mhm.
until what I think was it Rubber Soul, where it was the first kind of pure match between the two from an album standpoint.
okay. Well, I'm not
Maybe so,
sure.
yeah.
I'm not sure. But
Anyway,
moving on, we must continue, ladies and gentlemen. The last album in our list of three that we're going to talk about today, released on August 30th, 1965. Bob Dylan, Help Us All. Highway 61 Revisited. Uh,
help us all.
there you go. Recorded between June 16th and August 4th of 1965. Released on Columbia, CBS. Reaching number three in the US charts. Produced by Bob Johnston and Tom Wilson. Now, Highway 61 Revisited was a big album for Bob Dylan, and it had four singles released, like a Rolling Stone, the classic, From a Buick 6, Highway 61 Revisited, can't say that two times fast, and Queen Jane, Approximately. So, yeah, and again, if I didn't already mention this, the playing time is 51 minutes and 26 seconds. So quite a lengthy album in terms of what's allotted per side. You have 19 to 20 minutes per side um, of a vinyl side for an album. So, Ken, your viewpoint?
Yeah, unlike the Beatles, the song lengths are vastly different on this
Oh
album
yeah,
than the Beatles.
quite.
For Help, there was only one song over 3 minutes, and it was barely over 3 minutes.
Yeah, 303.
Um, yeah, so on the Dylan album, it opens up with the hit Like a Rolling Stone. That clocks in at 6 minutes and 13 seconds. Um, and that's not even the longest song off the album. So
Right.
that's I don't know at the time, but that might have maybe set some records for pop. This is his sixth album. It is. I agree with you, Armando. This was an important album for him. Um, this continues his move away from strictly acoustic folk sound. Um, it's not my favorite album, but there are some good tracks. I have a lot of respect for this album. Of course, like a Rolling Stone is the biggie off of this. I also like It Takes a Lot to Laugh. I enjoy Ballad of a Thin Man because of the keyboard work. And I do enjoy Desolation Row. And um, I have to mention that two tracks off this album um, feature Mike Bloomfeld and Al Cooper, respectively.
Yeah,
So, he was bringing in some hard hitters. I would have liked to have heard some of their works on more than just, two songs, but yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Um,
hmm
I've never been a real big Dylan head. Dylan's one of those artists that I could kind of probably put in the category as of, the three greatest hits album is all you really need.
Okay.
But
Or
I didn't.
Biograph.
Yeah, and Biograph was the first time I ever bought Dylan,
Yeah, me
and
too.
and that was why. And Biograph really, is where I go usually to listen, except for I will go and listen to some stuff um, separate from that, but that's just because it was released after Biograph. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, so this is kind of like what you said, Armando, about the Beatles' help. This was Dylan in transition. So you got both stereo and mono mixes um, for this album.
Yeah.
Uh, it's interesting that the B side was mm, uh, three of the four tracks were recorded in one day, and same with Ballad of a Thin Man on side A. So he's like, go in the studio, start the tape. Here we go. Get to the end. All right, moving on. What's next?
Yeah.
I kind of respect that. I really do. And
Yeah. Keep it going. Keep it going. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how much he was touring these songs at the time, but obviously, um, him and the band had it down cold.
Yeah.
Um, Tombstone Blues gets a fair amount of attention, but it doesn't really resonate with me. From a Buick 6, yeah. Mm, um, it sounds like I always think of a Stephen King book from a Buick 8, but
Yeah, I
that's
know. When I
completely
saw
different.
that title, I thought, "Yeah, okay, where's my copy of it?"
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, actually, the song is a little scarier than the novel, but there you go. Um,
Yeah.
but a significant album in his catalog. Definitely, definitely worth a listen. I know several Dylan fans that really do like it, and it's like, okay, that's cool. I'm just I'm a little more picky about my Dylan, but I do like him overall. Overall, but yeah, I don't visit this one as often as Blonde on Blonde or some of the others.
Hmm. Yeah, I get that. Jim.
Ken, I think you hit on a very major point early on is comparing Highway 61 to Help. I mean, those Beatles songs maybe had two unique verses and a chorus and a bridge, and they're out. On Highway 61 Revisited, usually there's five or six verses per song, and they are lengthy. Um, Plus, another point of comparison between the two. I mean, on Help, again, you've got some really great songs, but you got to compare. You're going to lose that girl and just the simplicity of the message and sort of the basic love song structure to what Dylan's doing on something like Tombstone Blues. You
Sure.
know, if I may, the geometry of innocence, flesh on the bone, causes Galileo's math book to get thrown at Delilah, who sits worthlessly alone, but the tears on her cheeks are from laughter.
Yeah.
Where
As
is that coming from?
Yeah.
as an artist today, yeah, in terms
Yeah,
of
it's
lyrical
just,
content. Yeah.
it's just amazing to me. And, it's so, I mean, Dylan's inventiveness, you know, um, once he sort of does kind of stray away from I'll call it the prison of traditional folk,
Yeah.
his. as good of a tune writer as he is, his real strength was in his non-standard lyric forms
Yeah.
that are basically, poetry. And, just what they're highlighting is just kind of this familial or relational angst that have, in some songs like this really deep, you know, you know, spiritual connection to it. I mean, he's the guy's throwing out biblical allusions properly. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You just think about, Highway 61. God said, "Hey Abraham, kill me a son. Where do you want this killing done?" It's but it's in this form that's like completely relatable.
Hmm.
One point I want to make is that I was kind of hating on the Sinatra record because a lot of the tunes weren't like singable. And I think that this Dylan album, a lot of the tunes are like, barely above that. Of the three, Help is infinitely the most singable. The melodies are just unescapable.
Yeah, I
But
mean
but
it's pop confection in terms of
Mhm.
help being what it is. Yeah, definitely.
yes, and but this record, I mean, lyrically, we already kind of see it's like 180 degrees from Help. Also, I think the tunes are there to sort of underscore the depth of the lyrics.
Yeah.
So once the connection point to these songs for me is through the lyrics. And if all you're doing is kind of looking for, Ticket to Ride in terms of like, lyrical form and what you can connect with, then this is not your bag.
This is not your album.
However,
No, no.
yeah, for those that want to spend the time and connect with it, it's just, it's like a gift that keeps giving. Um, you know, I'm just gonna throw a little Desolation Row out there. Um, Now Ophelia, she's neath the window. For her, I feel so afraid. On her 22nd birthday, she is already an old maid. To her, death is quite romantic. She wears an iron vest. Her profession's her religion. Her sin is her lifelessness. And though her eyes are fixed upon Noah's great rainbow, she spends her time peeking into Desolation Row. I mean, that's like, you know, 12 stanzas of one verse, of which there is
Meaning,
about six.
meaning she's looking for something better, but she also realizes her fate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a far cry from yeah, from
You're
help.
gonna lose that
Yeah,
girl.
yeah, I know.
It's
I know.
quite different
I
from
know.
that.
I know.
Well, the
It does.
source and the roots for these two artists are completely different,
I know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's why
that's a good point.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
discussion and on social media, one says, which is better, AC/DC or the Osmond Brothers? Look, you know, not even apples and oranges. It's
No,
it's apples and sofas.
no, you can't
Um,
even no. But
Yeah.
it does beg the question, what in the hell really went down but in that meeting between Dylan and Lennon? At the time when they did meet, like what exactly was said? You know, uh
I think it was more like, here's some pot, set your mind free.
yeah, it's like, yeah, okay.
yeah,
But anyways, no, I mean my take on this album, it is a classic. I understand why it's considered a classic, with songs like a Rolling Stone, and Highway 61 Revisited, from a Buick 6. It's it, it's Dylan's voice. I still can't get my mind wrapped around that.
you're not.
Like, oh my, that nasal delivery. It's just like, ooh, it's like
Yeah,
Hmm.
fingernails on a effing chalkboard. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. I tried and I listened to it. to the
Mhm.
whole album. I just could not do it. Yeah, he is. I mean, I do like the instrumentation on the album.
Mhm.
Al Cooper's improv organ solo on, like a Rolling Stone. I mean, come on. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
other songs like Desolation Row, with the great bass and acoustic guitar and the way they use the left and right channel
yeah.
on the recording, with the
Hmm.
bass on the left and the guitar on the right, and how it melds together beautifully. I mean, that aside, it's the vocals that get me every single freaking time. I can't get past it.
Well, I'm that way on some artists too. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't get
I've
past it.
I've just kind of become immune to it because I'm just hearing him. It's like more of a recitation.
Lyrically, he is like soaring above his contemporaries. I like in terms of the Beatles, I don't even think he believed he had any contemporaries at the time. In terms of competition, there was no like miles above what the Beatles were doing at the time. Um, but I mean, it's again, oh, I cannot stand the vocal delivery.
My only beef with Dylan is he had all these songs that are 8, 9, 10, 11 minutes long.
Self-editing was an issue.
However, Knocking on Heaven's Door is this long.
I know.
And it's such a good song. It's like, dude, give us four or
Give us
five more
some
verses.
more, yeah,
Stretch this out,
more
you
meat
know.
on the bone. Give us something that we can latch
Ugh.
on. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. Mm.
Oh,
There
Bob.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
you
Album
go.
anniversaries. Looking at albums that celebrate their 60th anniversary. Please put down in the comments any of the albums on any of the albums that we talked about. Sinatra, the Beatles, and Bob Dylan. Um, we'd like to get a dialogue going. Um, this was a long episode. We do apologize for that. We tend to sort of ramble on. We,
That
but
was
we
When
only three
aren't
albums.
they?
Yeah.
yeah, when aren't
Yeah.
they? But we have points to make, damn it. So we made our points. So for Jim and Ken, I'm Armando signing off. Again, please click like and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we got coming up.
And
We have
subscribe.
and subscribe as well. Yes, yes,
And share.
and share. There you go. There you go.
Sharing is caring.
We've got all the bases covered. And do stay tuned for our series in September called Going for the One, where we take a look at our favorite debut albums for the entire month of September. It's an barn burner, or as I like to call it, an ass burner. We had a really good time doing it. And
Thought that was a
I don't know
Taco
if I want
Bell
to
for your
stick around
mom.
and see asses burning.
no, we don't need to see that part. But
That's
we
a
had a
Midnight Oil song, wasn't it?
it's a fantastic series. We had a great time doing it. We all had a lot of uh,
Bum,
a
bum,
lot of
bum.
information to contribute. So please stay tuned for that. And again, we'll see you soon on another episode of the Music Den. Bye for now.